worshiper. The question is this: who is a true worshiper? Every one of us, every human being is worshiping something. If you are not worshiping God, you are worshiping something else that is not God. But the question is this: who is a true worshiper? A true worshiper. Because the Lord seeks the one that will worship Him in spirit and in truth. That is a true worshiper. One that knows that worship is in the spirit, not in the physical. In the spirit, one in the spirit. The act of worship is done in the spirit by physical being that travels into the spirit and journey in the spirit. And in truth, worship is not done in exaggeration, in lie, in truth. And in Romans, let's see something real quick. Worship is defined in Romans chapter 12, verse 1. Paul says, therefore, I urge you, brothers and sisters, I plead with you to give your body to God. To give your body to God. Another translation says, therefore, I urge you, brothers, on account of God's mercy, to offer your body as a living sacrifice, holy, pleasing to God, which is your spiritual service of worship. That is the Berea Standard Version. So worship is to be done by presenting our body as a living sacrifice. It's an offering of the body. Offering of the body. That means your body is not in control. He said a living sacrifice. A living, not a dead sacrifice. A true worshiper is not a dead sacrifice. Is not a dead worshiper. Is a living worshiper, a progressive worshiper, one that does it daily. Not that you did it yesterday, you are not doing it today. So a true worshiper worship God daily all their life. It becomes their lifestyle. So a true worshiper becomes their lifestyle. And worship is a sacrifice, a living sacrifice. Until your worship is a sacrifice, it is not a worship. Because spirit does not accept anything that is not a sacrifice. What attracts a spirit to a worship is the sacrifice that is involved. The spirit comes for the sacrifice. Until your worship is a sacrifice, it is not a worship. He said a living sacrifice, holy. The criteria for your worship is this: it must be holy, it must be sanctified, it must be pure. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. And God is a spirit. For you to see God in the place of worship, there must be purification. He said, holy and pleasing to God. Worship is not pleasing to the worshiper. It should be pleasing to the one you worship. So most of the time, we love songs that are pleasing. They are pleasing and pleasant to us and not pleasant to the one we give the worship. A sacrifice cannot test itself. It's the one that it is being sacrificed to. The food does not eat itself. It's the one that is being prepared for. So your worship must not be pleasant to you. You must not be the one taking the pleasure. It's the one you are giving the praises, the worship, that should be taking the pleasure. But these days, worshipers select worship based on how pleasing it is to the congregation or the listener. This day, we listen to worship that we know is pleasing to us. If it is not pleasing, we do not want to listen to it. So we have become like the people of the world that doesn't really know true worship. There's a difference between music and worship. Music is an organized sound that makes a complete sense to the one that is making the music. But in worship, it may not make sense to you, but it makes sense to the one that is receiving it. as long as you are in the spirit. The sound of worship is the sound of the spirit. And the sound of the spirit are in different kind. It can come from Satan, it can come from God. So the sound of the spirit, that means it must come. Your source must be from God. Your source. He said, which is your spiritual service of worship? The Berea Standard Version, that is where I'm reading. So this is the definition of a true worshiper. There's a definition of a true worshiper. This is kingdom talk. This is not music. Many churches are doing music and not worship. Many worshipers are not worshiping God, they are worshiping their self. There are several things you can worship. There are 4 things you can worship. You can worship God, you can worship Satan, you can worship yourself, you can worship a team. So, what category are you? And in you, it takes your spirit to worship. You are made up of 3 beings: the physical, the spiritual, and the soul. The soul, the spirit, and the body. The body, the soul, and the spirit. The body, the soul, and the spirit. If your worship takes place in the body, it is not worship. If your worship takes place in the soul, it is not worship. Your worship must take place in the spirit for you to be a true worshiper. We'll continue with this topic another time. Are you a true worshiper? And who is a true worshiper? And that's why we're calling for a retreat. A retreat March 13th to 15th, 2025. Be part of it. Be there. Be one of those that will be in that retreat as a true worshiper and know what true worship is. I want you to know life is short, death is sure, but Jesus can save you. He can set you free. So if you are not born again, you can be born again now. You can give your life to Christ. You can become a living sacrifice. Stop playing church. Start following God. Start giving God pleasure. He deserves all the praise, all the honor. Message from Father's House International Worship Center, Houston. I want you to know we are also building a 24-hour worship center. A church without end. A church without end. The worship goes on 24/7, 7 days a week, every hour, every second, every moment. God bless you. God bless you. God bless you. God bless you.